Fuck your feelings. So I'm Coach Bobby, and I'm with Sober Life Right. I do success coaching for people that are free of drugs and alcohol. This is my first YouTube video on things, so it may be kind of shaky, kind of rough, but that's all right. I was thinking a little bit today about discipline. You know, when I think about coaching and what it takes to kind of take control of your life and how to live this amazing life, one of the things that I've realized has made the biggest change for me is I feel like today I've become a very disciplined person. I have a very set routine of things that I do on a daily basis. I have a clear sense of values. I try and live inside those values to the best of my ability. But I get up and I do the work every day and I keep making progress forward, no matter what area of my life it is. That's something that I strive for and that I work for. I have this tendency sometimes though to think I know what words mean, and so I like to learn to go to the dictionary. You know, a lot of times I find out some things. Today I was looking at what is self-discipline, and I was a little shocked by what I found, so I'm just going to read it here. Self-discipline is the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses, the ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon it. So a lot of shit to unpack in there. So let's start with the ability to control one's feelings. So in order to have self-discipline, first off, you got to recognize that you have feelings. All right. You're going to be sad. You're going to be angry. You're going to be excited. You're going to be the whole range of human emotions. You're going to have those feelings at some point. So being able to control those. So how do you control a feeling? All right, well, one way that I used for a long time, and it worked really, really well, is I did drugs. When you use drugs, you instantly get a chemical reaction that signals your brain, it releases dopamine, suddenly you get these feelings of excitement, and you change the way you feel, and it's an instant thing. Unfortunately, there's some side effects to that, especially some of the heavier drugs that I was using. It does brain damage to you in the process. So now you're no longer even, your brain's not your own. You can't even make these, you can't even make sound decisions of any sort. Today, I've got so many coping skills. One of the biggest one is gratitude. On a daily basis, you wanna get happy real quick. Start listing all things that you're grateful for. It's very hard to stay in an emotional state when you're thinking about the positive in things. So that's just a little one. So it overcomes one's weaknesses. So guess what? To have self-discipline, you've got to have some weaknesses. No shit, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfectly strong. So how do you figure out your weaknesses? Well, it starts by you've got to be able to get honest. You've got to be able to self-reflect. You've got to be able to look at yourself. You've got to be able to look at evidence of what's going on. For me, a long reason I stayed sick for a long period of time is because I could not get honest with myself that drugs were causing me any issue. You know, I thought it was just circumstances, or I really thought it was decisions. I always kind of felt like I was in charge. I was in control of my life. And if I just made a different decision, then it'll be okay. But I didn't think like taking drugs out of it was the issue. What I didn't realize at the time is what I've learned since is that, hey, guess what? When you put chemicals in your body, it does things to your brain. Your brain, again, I said this once, is not your own. You basically get brain damage. All right. I don't care whether that's, hey, you got a couple of drinks, you feel a little tipsy. Well, guess what? Your brain's not working the same. You just hijacked it. Okay. And you get this feeling, you get these endorphins, you get these dopamine, you get all these chemicals that get released to make you feel happy and okay, but at the same time, it's not your brain. You're not making your right decisions. All right. So being able to sit down and put pen to paper or just like really look at, okay, well, where am I weak? And a lot of that starts with like looking at, okay, where am I also strong? You know, and for me, I have to look at evidence. You know, I can get this weird perception, this confirmation bias thing that like everything's okay, but I have to be able to objectively take a look at the evidence of what's really going on in my life. And sometimes I can't do that alone. You know, that's one thing that as a coach I help people do is, okay, help them like really look at, you know, one of the things of being a truth teller, like what's really going on. Hey, you haven't held a job in months, your family won't talk to you. It seems to happen every time that you're drinking. Maybe there's a connection there, and that was something that was difficult for me for a long time. Now let's look at the rest of this. The ability to pursue what one thinks is right. So I guess you should probably know what you think is right. I spent 40 years of my life never really thinking about values. Like, I knew what they were. I knew the words. In fact, I remember as a kid having these like little books that, it's like kids' books that were on the different values. I remember it was like, you had George Washington telling the story of George Washington to find out about honesty and how he chopped down this cherry tree. And I think Ben Franklin was like imagination, how he had this kite and got struck by lightning and he discovered electricity and like all this. And maybe it wasn't imagination, maybe it was something else. But anyway, Benjamin Franklin, he had this value. But I certainly didn't make that the driving force in my decision making. When I made choices, it was based on what outcome I was trying to get. If I wanted to make more money, I made a choice based on making more money. If I wanted to have a good time, I made choices not always good about what was going to let me have a good time in the moment. It was very, very short-sighted. One thing that recovery's given me is I sat down and I had somebody suggest to me, okay, hey, write out what qualities do you think a man should have? That was huge for me. Actually sitting and writing down values and then finding people that live by those values and saying, okay, now when I have a decision to make on what action to take next, I have some sort of roadmap, some sort of compass, okay? If I value being honest, well, when an honest person, you probably tell the fucking truth. What if I value being courageous? Well, I guess that means I gotta face my fears and I do things that I don't feel comfortable doing and that I'm afraid of. If I value loyalty, I guess I should be loyal. I guess I should be the kind of person that stands up for somebody else when they're not around, that doesn't gossip, that doesn't talk behind people's backs. Anyway, so those are some of the things that I had to look at. And then that last part of it implies for you to have self-discipline, one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon. So there's got to be temptations to have self-discipline. When everything is going exactly how you want it to and you're getting what you want, there's no self-discipline involved. Okay, if I am going to the store and I'm going to spend money on my gas for my car, and I go in and all they sell is gas and there's nothing else for me to buy, and I just buy gas, that didn't take a whole lot of self-discipline. If I go to the store and I've decided that I'm not going to spend money on coffee there or candy, that I'm just going to, I've made a decision, I'm going to be diligent with my money and I'm going to buy groceries at a grocery store, so I'd save money. And I go in and I'm tempted because they have these beautiful displays of candy bars and Cokes and everything that I freaking love, and they've got the new iced mocha coffee that's tastes so good. All right, but I walk by and I don't get those things. Then I am now I'm showing some self-discipline. So I think it's kind of crazy how deep you can sometimes get in things. So what does it take to be a self-disciplined person to you? What are some things? What are some of your temptations? What are some of the feelings that come along that you have to overcome? Because when you feel them, you're likely to do these things that you said you weren't going to do. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to someone out there.